Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Fast Track to Fearless Coaching Corner. My name is Tracy Forsyth. I'm the founder of Fast Track to Fearless, and I'm really lucky to be joined by Meriel Beale, who is a series editor in television and also the anti-bullying and harassment rep for BECTU. Because on today's Coaching Corner, we've had a question in from somebody who is being bullied. She wants to remain anonymous, but this is the issue. So I'm just going to read it out. I'm currently licking my wounds after being scapegoated and bullied with a smile by a senior female colleague at work. Very political and nausea inducing. It's really taken the wind out of my sails. And despite my initial reaction of let's tackle this head on, it's really nailed me and my self-confidence has taken a beating. Can you give me any advice on how to rally professionally and personally after something like this? So that's the question, Meriel, that we've got today.
Yeah.
And I have to say, from my perspective, I've been working like 30 years and it seems to have got worse and worse and worse. So you are a voluntary expert in this field. What would your take on that be? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting time to ask the question as well. I don't know if this person works in TV or not, but at the moment there's a campaign that I'm running with BECTU called Unseen on Screen, where people are putting forward their anonymous stories of being bullied and harassed. And the impact of that has been interesting because I've got more and more people coming forward to me saying it's really taken them back to when they were themselves bullied and they're still dealing with it. So the first thing I'd say to this person is don't underestimate the impact this is having on you or that it will have on you. I would really think about that. It's easy to just kind of coast along. I mean, she's already opened up about how she's feeling, which is brilliant. But I would suggest making notes about the impact it's having. It's good to make notes anyway about it. Good to keep a record of what's happening on a daily basis. Not only does it outline to you how long it's been going on, which can take you by surprise sometimes, because when you're living in the moment, you don't necessarily realize how long things have been going on for. But also you'll be able to see how it's affecting you. Note if you're feeling anxious about going to work or if you've been tearful at work. All those things are really important. I think I'm not entirely clear whether this person is going to be continuing working with the same boss. It sounds maybe like they are.
It sounds like it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's really difficult. It's a difficult situation. I think they need to make it clear what the impact has been. The impact of that behaviour, and they need to be clear about their boundaries, I would say. She mentions already trying to tackle it head on, so she's obviously gutsy, she's obviously a brave person. Is there anybody else in your company or in your business that you can confide in that can have your back? Do you have HR? Those are the people that you need to be talking to, and if you can go to them and say, here's my log of when things have been happening and how it's been making me feel, then that would be step one, I'd say.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Thank you, Mary. And I think, what my kind of reaction is from advice that I would give is mirrors what you're saying, which is to just pause and process what is actually going on, what you are feeling, unpick it all. And the thing is, I think you're right, is when you're right in the thick of it, often you don't realize it's happening, or you just think, I'm just going to get on with it. Or if you're a freelancer, you think I've got no choice, I've just got to get on with it. I've worked in places where I've had the kind of bosses that would just open up the door and shout at everybody. But in a way, it was sort of like, well, everybody got the same treatment. It's like the hairdryer treatment, etc. But I've also had bosses where, it felt like a lighthouse beam going around and around, and if the beam fell on you, then you knew you were in on it. And what I'm interested in is what she said about being bullied with a smile, is that often, the bully, it's not people coming out of the door and shouting at you so your hair goes back. It's often this thing that, the kind of things that would happen to me is like the boss would sort of be really, really hard to get into their diaries, and you'd want to kind of check stuff with them, but they wouldn't be available. And then right at the last minute, say the night before you were going on holiday, they'd say, okay, I can see you at 4:30. And then at 4:30, ask you for an encyclopedic amount of information that, that you were expected to deliver. So it would kind of ruin your holiday. And you'd spend a lot of your holiday, angry and worried about that. So, So sorry, I'm really rambling about my own issues now. But I have been there. I suppose I've been there.
I have too, yeah.
And I think what's really useful from having been out of it is just to pause and process what is actually going on. And the other thing I think is, and think about what you're needing. So you said, can they speak to anybody else? Do you need a supporting friend? Do you need to unburden? Do you need somebody to bear witness to it? And I think all of those, don't keep it to yourself. Whatever you do, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with other people. But the other thing, oh, sorry, Meriel, yeah.
Oh no, just there's different ways you can do that as well, that sharing. So, even just writing it down, I think is quite therapeutic. And you can tell your story anonymously, write it down just for yourself, tell a friend, talk to a therapist, I would really recommend. It just can take somebody else sometimes to stand outside and say, actually, this isn't acceptable. Sometimes you can feel, like you say, you think, I'll just keep going.
Yes.
The other thing just quickly is to say, this person mentions it's a senior person. It's really hard to manage somebody who's above you.
Yes.
But you're a junior, your role is junior, but you're not a junior human being. We all should have respect at work and dignity at work. It doesn't matter what role you're in. And I think that's really important to remember.
I think, and on that, I think it's also that, yes, you may be junior, and then there may be people who are older and more experienced and people in authority, but absolutely, you are equally of value. And actually, if a leader is treating you like that, they are not doing their job correctly. So I think it's often not about you. And when I was in television full time, I very much felt that my self-esteem and my self-confidence and my self-worth was wrapped up in my job title. And it meant that if I didn't have that job title, I just worthless, that didn't exist. But what I've definitely learned is that you are not your job. You are more. That is just one expression of how you do your thing. And this is one person. Hopefully, it will be the only person that you meet in terms of being bullied, etc. But you are not defined by what that person says about you. You are not defined by this particular role. Now, again, it's really, really hard to think all of that right when you're right in the middle of it, isn't it? But actually, Meriel, I was going to sort of talk about, is there anything practical to be done, as well as sharing it with other people? And one of the things that you mentioned was boundaries, like what are your boundaries? And this person said, is there any advice that you can give me professionally?
I think one of the things, sorry, Tracy. That's very difficult when you're being bullied is your feeling of loss of control. And so professionally, you don't have control over what's happening with your job. You don't have control over your day or your time, or all the tasks that you're doing. So if there is a way of talking to somebody, it doesn't have to be the person that is the problem. Is there a way of talking about your job description, about what's expected of you, when it's expected of you, and then say, this is what I want, and these are my expectations, these are my boundaries, I will not accept this. Then I think you're putting it all out there very, very clearly, and it becomes a dialogue between you and your employer.
I wholeheartedly agree. And even if you feel like, because a lot of us feel like, I'm so lucky to have this job, I can't be demanding, etc., etc. But at the very least, if you feel that either you've got a tricky person that you're dealing with, I mean, it's life, isn't it? Unfortunately, we come across tricky people all the time. It is to get clear right from the get-go about what your roles and responsibility is, what's expected, what success looks like. Don't assume that what they're wanting is what you read on the job description. I think it's almost like having a contract up front. It's like almost get it in writing so that you are both on the same page about your objectives right from the very start, so that there can't be, a massive diversion in what you're doing. And the other thing that I think is really what has found helped me, if I felt that I was dealing with a difficult person, not necessarily a bully, but a difficult person, was to keep them abreast of the progress or the obstacles along the way, so things didn't come as a surprise. But also in something like this, is that so you don't get scapegoated further down the line for something that's happened, because you have kept people informed, And it's interesting. I was looking up the word scapegoat, where it actually came from, and it comes from the Old Testament, Leviathan, I think, Leviticus, Leviathan. Anyway, it's a goat sent into the wilderness after the priest had symbolically laid the sins of other people on it. So it's being blamed for somebody else's sins. So it's like, if you're being blamed for this boss's sins or erroneous ways, if you're always kind of like clear about your objectives and keep on the same page all the way through, I think maybe less chance of that happening.
Exactly. Less chance of the grey areas where all this stuff can happen. It's easier said than done, but I think it's definitely worth a try. And I'm a big believer in CC people on your emails, and they can see what you're doing, where you're heading, how much work you're doing.
Yes, I think so. Then it doesn't come as so much as a surprise. And then the last thing I just want to talk about is this, like, bullied with a smile. So it's sort of, I think that's what's called passive aggressive behavior, isn't it? It's like it's people not being honest about their own feelings and doing it with a smile, so you don't know whether you're actually being bullied or told off. So do you have any thoughts about that? Like, if you're not quite sure whether you're being, that feeling of, hang on a minute, what's going on?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I think that's really hard to deal with. It's almost easier just have somebody that shouts, because you kind of know it's happening. And because other people might have a different interpretation of the person and be like, oh, that person's lovely, she's always smiling. Yes. But again, it's that can be, you don't want it to be open to interpretation. It's got to be clear, it's got to be black and white for other people to understand. It's worth Googling sounds really basic, but look up the definition of bullying. It can be, when I first looked it up, I thought, oh God, that really defined a situation that I was in myself. And once you've identified that you're in that situation, that just makes you feel sort of relief in a weird way, that you know what you're handling, you know what you're tackling. And then you can take it from there. But this person does seem to be in a really difficult position. But I hope, call on other people that work around you, see if they've noticed anything.
Yes. And, because the chances are it's this person will be doing it to other people, right?
They'll be doing it to other people, definitely. Yeah. Sure.
So in summary, what would we say our advice from Coaching Corner is speak up, or speak to others?
Tell your story however you feel comfortable. Speak up, get some help with your community, and don't forget that you're not a junior human being. You are worthy of being treated with respect and dignity. So
I think that's such a good one, is that if a leader is not doing their job properly, so actually the person at fault here is the bullying leader, because that's not leading effectively, and not getting the best out of their team, etc. So I think in summary, sort of pause, process what's going on, really work out what you're needing, to share that, to document it, to just take stock, to know that actually it's not that there's no wonder that you're feeling what did she say, nailed, that knocked back, that you're not going crazy, that there is a reason, and you know, if any of the practical advice about making sure, protecting yourself a bit, I think from people like that, I don't know whether that's right, but protecting yourself in terms of being very clear about boundaries and expectations and what's happening along the way.
But think about how you would want it to be better. Think about your boundaries and how you'd make it better.
Yeah, brilliant. And are there any resources, or what can they, in terms of your campaign, Meriel, how do they follow you? How can they get involved? What other resources would you recommend?
Well, obviously I'm dealing with TV mainly, but you can follow BECTU Unscripted. You can get hold of me on LinkedIn. If I can help in any way, let me know. And yeah, the campaign is going at the moment, Unseen on Screen, it's called. And I would normally say go to the film and TV charity for any help with therapy and things like that. But if you don't work in TV, that's maybe not the best way to go. But I would also really think about getting some support for your mental health.
Yes, yeah. And Unscreen on Scene, that is all stories about bullying and harassment in the film and TV industry.
Yeah.
But if you're not in the film and TV industry, then maybe just take a look at that campaign and see, because I'm sure themes of bullying and harassment, unfortunately, are similar in whatever industry you're in.
They are, and I think you'll see, a lot of it's about power, a lot of it is about, people not being sure of where they stand, boundaries being crossed. I think the thing that will help, I think, is that it will make you feel less alone. You'll realise you're not the only one.
Yeah, a problem shared is a problem halved. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Well, listen, I hope that's helped. If you've got any comments for me or Meriel, please do them below in wherever you're watching this, or contact us separately. We hope that's helped, and we send you all our good wishes and our support. And I just want to say thank you very much, Meriel. By the way, she does all her anti-bullying and harassment work absolutely on a voluntary basis. So she really, really takes a huge amount of time out of her day and devotes a lot of time to this. So it's really, really admirable and important, the work that you do. So on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you as well for that.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And if anybody else has got any questions for Coaching Corner, just direct message me, and I will be happy to try and help. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.